loves. Welcome to What the
Frankfurter.
Fuck Shakespeare, and we're in the studio today looking at Act 1, Scene 1 of Romeo and Juliet, investigating dick jokes. Hashtag dick jokes.
A bit sick now. 35.
Skin flute.
36.
Justin Beaver. Womb broom.
107.
Kidney scraper.
God. 108.
Mr. Sniffles.
Now you're just being ridiculous.
Yep.
109.
Donger.
Okay. 110.
Tuna torpedo.
I think we should end it there. I'm quite unwell.
Hi.
Hello.
So we're looking at as many dick names as possible at the moment because we're looking at Act 1, Scene 1 of Romeo and Juliet, and I'm putting forward that there are a lot of dick jokes in this scene.
You've found quite a few, haven't you?
Yeah, quite a few. Those weren't in the play, by the way. Just to make that
That was
perfectly
for our
clear.
own entertainment.
Yeah. So, but the tricky bit with all this is that the dick jokes that are in that scene are a bit specific to Shakespeare's time. There's only one you could argue that we definitely recognise, and even you could even argue that we'd only recognise that in Britain, because I'm not sure if America would recognise it.
Okay.
I don't know.
Which one's that?
Tool.
Okay.
Get out your tool. Let's have a think at the very start of the play. So this whole scene with Gregory and Samson is the start of the play, but isn't necessarily always the start of the play, because we've got the prologue.
Yeah, the prologue,
Right.
which was added later, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was added later, so it wasn't the original start, right? So you've got choices now.
How do you start the play? Yeah.
How do you start it? Do you start it with the prologue, like is traditionally done, or do you start it with just Gregory and Samson?
Because the prologue sort of gives you an overview of the entire play, so it's a bit of a plot spoiler, if you like. You know what's going to happen because it tells you there in a few lines what's going to happen in the play. So you can start with that, or you can go with the other option, which
is Gregory and Samson. Now you got a number of options with just Gregory and Samson. They could come on stage and they're really obviously part of the play.
Yep.
And they come on and they do their thing, and then the play is already started, or potentially they are in the audience. Maybe they're, so in Shakespeare's time at the Globe or whichever one of his theatres, you would have had the groundlings. The groundlings would
they're
be
the people at the front.
They're the people at the front,
Yeah.
stood right in front of the stage. So maybe the actors are in the groundlings. Maybe the groundlings, some groundlings climb up onto the stage. Maybe they start poncing about. Maybe everyone goes, what's going on? Somebody's got on stage, and they're really drunk, and then suddenly the play is started. So you've got a number of options there. You've got prologue, you've got actors coming onto stage as per normal, or you've got actors appearing as if by magic,
not part of the play,
not part of the play at all, and
we're
suddenly,
not really sure.
and that's maybe so. There's different ways of grabbing the audience's attention. So that's potentially that might have happened in Shakespeare's time.
This scene isn't just about dick jokes. There's more to it than that.
Right.
If we look at the text, you've got the words collier in there, which is referencing to coal mining, which was considered a very sort of lowly working job. You know, it was dirty and I guess not well respected. I don't know. Yeah. You could be
one step above poo digger.
The poo digger.
Yeah. It's not
it's at least one step up from that.
Yeah,
I'd
at least
say.
one step up from that. Yeah.
And then you've got the reference to women as the weaker vessel. So you've got religious references in there as well. And then you move on to the reference to poor John, which in Shakespeare's time would be more well known as a type of fish. I think it was quite like a dried fish jerky, if you like. So I think it's really important to understand that when we think of Romeo and Juliet, you immediately think of the poetry, the language of love, the two big families, star-crossed lovers and all of those things. But actually we open the play talking about very mundane, everyday things. So, you know, jobs and religion and class and what's in their cupboards at home, what do they eat. So you get a real balance between that sort of high art, high-born stuff and these servants who open the play and they gain the audience's interest from the beginning, talking about themselves and sort of everyday mundane chatter.
And I guess part of the problem with what they're talking about is that culturally, in Shakespeare's time, everybody knew exactly what they were talking about.
Yeah, definitely.
We no longer we still have coal, but nobody really talks about colliers anymore. Not that well. A lot of people talk about the Bible. People are able to quote you the Bible, but not everybody would know that reference. I didn't know that reference until I'd looked it up. We don't have poor John anymore. Never seen it in a shop. You know, it's supposed to be really unpleasant, so I'm not surprised we've stopped selling it. So we've got all these different things, but we don't know what those cultural references mean. So, like we were talking about earlier about the names for dicks, which are culturally specific, and our names for dicks are culturally specific. So, in 50 years' time, Justin Bieber will no longer. People will just go, what the heck does that mean? Because Justin Bieber will be about 85 if he's still alive. So
they won't know who he is.
They won't have a clue what that
did,
means. So if there's a play with Justin Bieber in it, in 50 years' time, people will be doing that play, whatever that play is, I don't know. And they'll be going, what the heck's that reference? They won't have a clue what that reference is.
Justin Bieber? Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess we've got to kind of think about all of this within the context of the time it was written and how the actors and directors and theatre makers create a scene that's believable, that the audience understands,
that everyone can relate to.
The audience can relate to, and that's a trick with this kind of stuff and making it relatable, because loads of the cultural references are no longer valid. Yeah, so it's a tricky one. So as performers and theatre makers, we should be looking back at this with our eyes, where it's all slightly more open to this.
Yeah.
So therefore, we can kind of look at the cultural references a bit and maybe think about how this kind of works and how we can make use of these knob jokes. So we're allowed to kind of look at the knob jokes because they were quite important in Shakespeare's time. Knob jokes are definitely quite important in this time, right? So let's just have a look at them.
Okay.
Right? But thou art not quickly moved to strike. Right? Oh, there's one. Yeah. A dog of the house of Montague moves me. Okay. To move is to stir, and to be valiant is to stand. Yeah. A dog of that house shall move me to stand. And therefore, women being the weaker vessels, biblical reference, are ever thrust to the wall. Therefore, I will push Montague's men from the wall and thrust his maids to the wall. They shall feel while I am able to stand. And 'tis known I am a pretty piece of flesh. Yeah. 'Tis well thou art not fish, flaccid. If thou hadst been poor John.
There you go, poor John.
Draw thy tool. Here comes to the house of Montagues. My naked weapon is out. Quarrel, I will back thee. There's only a few. There's more than that, yeah. But you can play with those. They don't necessarily definitely mean knobs, but you can definitely make them appear to mean knobs. And that's all in the playing of it, really. You could decide to play it as knob gags or to play it as something quite serious. Yeah, because quite a lot of it is about...
it's quite fighty, isn't it?
Quite fighty, because we're working up to the fight. So there could be knob gags, or there could be fighting talk, or there could be both. So I guess you're looking at an actor's or a director's
how you play it.
Choices, artistic choices, whether you play it for one, the other, or both at the same time. And it's quite important that we realise that although he's using gags, possibly using knob gags, he's also setting up the hatred on both sides, which is setting us up all the way up to the fight. So a bit like the nurse as a device to tell us all about Juliet's doomedness, which we'll come to in another episode, we're using Gregory and Samson as a device to find out about the
feud.
hatred, the feud.
Yeah, there might be a few dick jokes within this part of the text, along with the other things that we've talked about. So now it's over to you. What do you think? As an actor, would you choose to go with the dick jokes, or would you choose to go with the fighting talk? Either way, what decisions would you make? How does that make you feel? You know, make all those questions to help you form that decision.
As a director, we've given you quite a number of options. We've got keep the prologue, dump the prologue, have Gregory and Samson come on as actors from backstage as per normal, yeah? Or do they come up through the audience where the play suddenly begins without beginning? There's loads of different choices in there. So have a think about what you would do. If you agree with what we've said, fantastic. If you don't agree with what you said, fantastic. Yeah, that's what the comments are for. Start the conversation. And if you want to try some of these things out in a rehearsal room, brilliant. If you create a video for that, post it up. We'll have a look at it. Share. Yeah. So get involved in the conversation. That's what we're here for. We're here to start the conversation, to talk about this stuff, to talk about these scenes, to talk about these plays, to create a conversation which everyone can get involved in. That's the whole point of our entire site. So subscribe, comment,